It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Princeton head men's ice hockey coach, Coach Ron Fogarty. How are you doing today?
Good, Brandon. Thanks for having me on.
Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching men's ice hockey on the college level?
Well, I didn't really anticipate to coach college hockey when I was younger, but when I was at Colgate University as a freshman and sophomore, when I went back to my hometown in Sarnia, Ontario, I had the opportunity to coach a AAA Bantam summer hockey team. So I did that for 2 years, and we were pretty successful, and that kind of got piqued my interest a little bit, but I just wanted to keep playing as long as I could, college and beyond that, and then one day get into coaching at any level.
What was it like playing for Colgate and putting on that Colgate jersey?
It was very rewarding. A lot of players, currently, come up through youth hockey and strive to use their hockey to get an education. And for me to do that was very rewarding. I didn't know much about college hockey in Canada when I was recruited by Colgate and some other teams. So when I went down to visit the school, it was a great experience to see the students rally around the team. It's a tremendous campus, and I was very fortunate to put on that jersey and have a fun 4-year career there.
What were some of your biggest accomplishments during your college time?
Well, I think the biggest accomplishment was getting a degree and earning that degree and utilizing it here for my entire life. With the hockey part of it, having a 20-win season my senior year, being the captain was rewarding. As a part of a team that struggled for 3 years, and to finally break out of it and staying part of the process through my 4 years and having both feet in, paid off. We made it to Lake Placid and lost in the semifinals. And then just looking back, had the opportunity to forge a lot of great relationships during my time there.
What is that experience like of playing at Lake Placid on Miracle on Ice?
It was a unique situation, for a player to see other teams go there 3 years before we had an opportunity to. Very envious and want to find ways to get our team there and be a part of it. But to step onto that ice and look around the town, it's a hockey town. During that time, we have the ECAC championships there. But just to reflect on the history of the Miracle on Ice and to be on that same sheet was rewarding to get there. But to know that the history was made there and you're playing on the same sheet was a unique experience.
What was your professional career like as a hockey player?
Very quick. Wasn't long at all. It was quick in the minor leagues, and I was just starting a family at that time and played a couple of games in the East Coast with the Toledo Storm, and then played in the Central Hockey League with the Memphis RiverKings, and played a little bit of roller hockey international in the summertime. Played with the New Jersey Rock and Rollers, the Ottawa Loggers. So it was interesting, that a little bit of a gimmicky sport at the time, but paid for some of the bills. But then I had the opportunity to go back to Colgate after 1 year playing pro, and it was an opportunity that I was going to grasp onto and make the most out of it.
What was that experience like of going into college coaching after obviously playing at Tolan and obviously playing professionally?
It was interesting to the aspect that I was coaching players that I played with on the same team, just being 1 year removed from Colgate. Donnie Vaughn, the head coach at Colgate at the time, and who was still there, gave me the opportunity to return. And it was a huge learning curve my first year, just because you had friendships with the players that you had to coach. But, I believe I earned their trust and respect as a player. So it wasn't that difficult as I assumed it was going to be when I was the assistant coach at Colgate.
What was that experience like of obviously balancing, obviously being a coach and coaching the players that you played against?
It, when you're in the dressing room, and it's the biggest part when you leave hockey, those times that you have there and the stories and the friendships along the way is what keeps people playing the game. You can, you don't like part of getting, cut or the grind. So to change that philosophy of being in the dressing room with the classes that I was coaching to become a coach, so you had to draw a line where the friendships had to end and where you had to, be a mentor and coach and tell them the things that they needed to hear, not what they wanted to hear that you're accustomed to for, your career as a player. So it was difficult at first, but I knew I had a job to do, and it turned out to be a great stepping stone to where I am today.
What was the transition like from playing on ice to now being on the sidelines and being on the side of the ice?
Well, to be on the bench, you don't have control, or as much as control as you felt as you did as a player. So how you impact the game as a coach is during the practices and the preparation up to the game, and then reviewing and coaching the players once the game is over. So once the game starts, you just try to keep the players focused and, keep an even keel behind the bench and don't distract them, and maybe some in-game adjustments. But there's not much control that you have once the puck is dropped. So that's the biggest difference. But most definitely impacted by the wins and losses the same way as you are as a player.
How was it like leaving your alma mater to go to Clarkson as the assistant coach?
It was a great time for me to leave Colgate. I was being a player for 4 years and being a coach for 3. And at that time, Colgate had financial aid packages instead of scholarships. And even though Clarkson was in our conference, I knew I had to get the experience of utilizing scholarships and recruiting to a different place. So I was recruited by Colgate, played at Colgate, coached at Colgate. I didn't know how to recruit when I first got to Clarkson to a different institution. So that allowed me to think differently, listen differently, and I coached differently as well too. So it was a great move at the time, and it did help me, as every move did, to get to where I am today.
What was your time like at Clarkson?
It was the same as Colgate. You're recruiting players, and with different academic interests that want to succeed, want to be liked, want to be valued at each school, and they want to be professional athletes along the time that they're there to win a championship. So very similar, just a different buildings that you're entering to on campus, but the same type of mindset that the players have to win and to move on.
How did it feel to obviously leave Clarkson, and then going to Bowling Green?
Yeah, Brandon, we're going to talk about a lot of moves. I moved around a lot, but it's necessary, as an assistant coach, to keep gaining experiences for reference points when and if you become a head coach. But Bowling Green was in last place at the time in the CCHA, so I was moving from the ECAC conference to the CCHA, and then we took a last place team to 5th place in a handful of years. And Bowling Green as a town is different than Colgate and Clarkson, being in the Midwest, and it's a great family town. And it was just along the way, the stops at Colgate, Clarkson, and Bowling Green, as I said, helped me gain experiences and kind of forge my craft of things I would do or wouldn't do as a coach. So it was very valuable to gain all 3 experiences.
How did it feel that moment that you became the head coach for the first time in your career at Adrian?
Yeah, very nervous, unsure that you can get the job done. A lot of question marks, because as assistant coach, you can keep throwing out ideas to the head coach, and whatever one he picks, you're going with. So, but when the dollar stops with you, or the decision stops with you as a head coach, it's a little bit different. But the first part of Adrian, when I took the job, was a little different because we didn't have any ice or a program. So I spent the first year recruiting And so spent a lot of time on the road recruiting captains from junior hockey teams and prep school teams. So the first year at Adrian wasn't much different as being an assistant coach, because the majority of that job and the main task was to recruit a team to ice for the first year.
What was that moment like of building it into a powerhouse program?
We don't know it's a powerhouse program on day one. We won our first game 9-1 and lost our second game 6-4. And we started off 3-3 before we went on to a long stretch of games that we won. You don't expect to be a powerhouse or a losing team. You just got to take it day by day and do the best that you can, but surround the team with leaders, people that care for each other, and obviously good hockey players. So I believe we did a great job of recruiting great people that had a lot of leadership skills, so that have won along the way. So they knew how to win, knew how to be leaders on and off the ice. And that really gave us a basis to become a championship team.
What was it like leaving Adrian to a powerhouse program that you built to go to Princeton?
It was very difficult, Brandon, in a way that it felt like my baby. It was a program that I started from scratch and we won. But I knew that it could be sustaining when I left to have the opportunity here at Princeton. And Princeton only won 3 games when I came here, and Brad Dexter came along, as well as Stavros Pescaris, who was with me at Adrian, and just had the same recruiting philosophy: get captains, get leaders, get great people, and and start building again, and believe in the process. It's not going to be a 1 or 2 year rebuild at Princeton because of the different rules, and you're not just grabbing 26 players from junior hockey. You have to wait and recruit 6 and 7 players each year. But it was great to get back to the Division I level at Princeton. And looking back, I wouldn't have done it any way differently.
What was it like, obviously, coming to Princeton and coaching in the Ivy League?
It's different. It's different than being at Colgate and Clarkson, who are 2 foes of the ECAC. The parameters to get in at Princeton are different, with the grade point average and obviously the financial aid. But those are 2 small recruiting bumps that are thought of first. But once you get into Princeton, it's just a tremendous place. It's a life-changing experience with the degree that you can earn. So the players that do get into Princeton, and the people and student athletes get into Princeton, definitely do earn it. And through their craft and body of work as a student athlete, but more importantly as a student, has allowed them the opportunity to gain a world-class degree.
What did that game against St. Lawrence feel like to you as head coach when you became the 200th career win?
Oh, it felt like any other game. It's just your preparation's the same, and I learned after that it was the 200th win as a coach at Adrian and Princeton. But it just shows that a lot of great people that we recruited were doing a great job of representing their institution at Adrian Princeton. So don't want to stop at 200, like to keep going. Wouldn't mind trying to get that to 400 one day. That will show longevity in the business. And so I remember more my first win at Adrian and my first win at Princeton more that game.
What was it like going to the NCAA tournament in 2018 and obviously playing in the Frozen Four?
The run to the 2018 championship with Princeton was a great experience. We ran the table as a lower seed. We swept our first series against Brown, then swept Union, and then won the semis against Cornell and championship game against Clarkson overtime. It was the first lower seed not to lose a game in the ECAC to win a championship here at Princeton. So it was a great ride that the players brought me on. It was great to win it in overtime after giving up a late goal in the 3rd period to Clarkson. And then having the opportunity to go up against Ohio State in Allentown was what didn't end the way we wanted to, but it showed that we could win at Princeton. And the 4 years from 3 wins to winning an ECAC title just showed a lot of commitment by the entire program involved.
Who are some teams that you face in your conference?
But what are some of the teams we play?
Mhm.
Well, obviously we have the Ivy Leagues competitors, and the outside of that is, it's Union, RPI, St. Lawrence, Clarkson. And then we have Colgate. They've been obviously one of my personal rivals, playing up against them. And then our travel partner, Quinnipiac, who's having a tremendous year this year.
What is that like, obviously, going back to your alma mater to coach against them?
It's easier now. It was tougher when I was an assistant coach at Clarkson when I just left, but it's been many years since 1998-99 season. So for 60 minutes when the puck's dropped, I want to beat them very bad, as I do against any other team that we play. But as I leave the rink and see the facilities, the dorm I went to, it just brings back some memories of being a student athlete there. But definitely an enemy for 60 minutes.
What is it like, obviously, getting to play those Ivy League schools like Brown and Harvard?
Again, it's the Ivy League tradition is great. In our sport's a little different than football or baseball or basketball, where we play the Ivy League schools, but we're a part of the ECAC conference. So there is an Ivy League champion that's awarded to the team with the best round robin record against the other Ivies within the ECAC regular season schedule. But there's 11 teams that are equally important to beat on a given night, over Brown or Cornell or any Ivy school.
What is it like for you to get to coach against those big teams like Ohio State, UConn?
Yeah, it's not as big as other sports, because those are players that we see on the recruiting side of the game, and we play against a number one team or our top 10 team regularly, either in our conference or non-conference games. So again, our preparation is the same. Our players, line up against them and are comparable. And we've knocked off number one teams here at Princeton and knocked off top 10 teams. With only 60 teams, they do the top 20. So 1/3 of the teams are in the top 20 each year. So you're going to face one of those teams with certainty each year. So we prepare equally, and if we're beating a team who's last in the pairwise or first in the pairwise, that win is equally enjoyable.
What does a typical game day look like at Princeton?
Say it again, sorry.
What does a typical game day look like at Princeton?
Brandon, I don't know. The behind the scenes, I don't know, because as I indicated before, Monday through Thursday, take great pride in preparing our team. And then on Friday, ahead of game time and through the day at home, they're in class or preparing. I don't want to distract the players by being around them. That's their day. And similar with Saturday, that is their day. So I know what happens at game time. They're putting together their best effort. But behind the scenes, that's probably maybe for a future podcast, you can have one of our players on.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built at Princeton?
I think the culture would be caring, and be a great person. That's the first part of it. And that's what we look for in student athletes. If you're a great person, you have an opportunity to represent our program. It's more important than goals for, goals against. Wins or losses are somewhat important because you're judged by that as a coach. But I firmly believe you're judged by what type of character people that are within your program. So we want players to care for each other, care for the school, have great pride for the school. But being a great person, caring, is definitely the culture that we have here.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college hockey?
Well, they need to have the grades, and have a great body work through prep school or high school. And as I alluded to just before, they have to be a great person. They have to be a leader. We're around the players 10% of the time, like 2 hours a day. The other 20 plus hours, they're on their own. We trust that they make the best decisions for themselves and for the betterment of the team. So you can be the top scorer, have the best grades, but if you're not a great person, we don't want you in our program.
What are some things that you look at when you're on the road?
Well, before we go on the road, we have to know what the grades are, and we do a lot of background work. before we watch a game live. And we'll watch on the internet some games before if we have a tip or we see someone who's doing well, who's showing interest, or a coach has told us that that player has interest in Princeton. But majority of the work is done before we even get on the road to see them, to make sure that, we're spending money to go watch this person, recruiting time and effort, ensuring that they're a great person. So it's when then it comes down to the game, we look for a person, if they're playing forward or defense, that wants the puck, that wants to get it back, who's a great teammate, obviously a goaltender that stops the puck. But we'll sit across from the benches, at least I do, and watch how that player interacts with his team. And just to make sure, again, it goes back to, you have to be a great person, have leadership skills, and that we as a staff can trust them.
What are some things that you do on the official visit for those prospective student athletes when they come see the men's ice hockey program?
It's each official visits differently. Some will be able to, find a pause in their schedule when they're not playing, to visit us on a Friday, Saturday, when we have a home game. And some players have to come in during midweek. But with a player who's coming in to watch us play, they'll interact with our players either before or after a tour of the campus and our facilities. And during the game, we want to immerse them in our actions with the team. So we'll have them down in the dressing room before the game and in between periods, so they can see how we're coaching them, but also see how our players react to in-game adjustments. And then after the game, they'll spend time with the players again, talking about Princeton, and we'll have a breakfast before they head out, and then see if they're interested in Princeton, and we'll just move forward.
What is it like as head coach seeing them look at the orange jerseys and see if they feel at home in them?
It's interesting. Like when the players don't really tell us how they feel after the recruiting trip, but they'll get back to us in a couple of weeks. But I'll tell you something, like when we have a home game, when the balcony's filled, which is majority of the time, and just with our atmosphere and historic Baker Rink, it's an experience and atmosphere that the players love and the prospective players love too. So once we get a person on campus, and we know they can get into the school with grades and their test scores, they love it, and we're pretty sure that we can get them to be a future Tiger.
What advice would you give those prospective student athletes looking to play college ice hockey?
To keep your grades up, to do your best to make, and that will assure them to be the best free agent possible, so that all 61 schools can be interested in them. The lower your grades, you're going to be eliminating schools that may like you as a person, a player. And then your time in prep school or in junior, just have 2 feet in there and play as best as you can, and just be a great person.
What advice would you give those future college hockey players that are looking to go from playing college hockey to going into the NHL or ECH?
Yeah, we've had a couple, 4 sign after 2018, 1 after the 2018 and 3 after the 2019 season. And using those players as reference points, just staying committed to where you are at that point, like work on your skills, get better. And if a team wants you at the professional level, they'll come and get you. It's a small world, a hockey world. There's no secrets. But if you continue to work hard, be dedicated to your current team, then you have an opportunity to move on. And obviously you have to be a pretty special player to move to the National Hockey League. It's very tough to have a career at that level. But players that come into our door, we're going to provide them with the best opportunity to develop, and it's up to them if they want to be committed to have that opportunity.
What advice would you give those future college coaches looking to get started in coaching in men's ice hockey?
Just to have a diverse resume of coaching at different levels. It's tough to be a head coach. So if you can gain experience through minor hockey or junior hockey or Division III, being an assistant coach Division I, all those experiences allow you to have different thought processes going into different situations that occur on a daily basis as a head coach. College hockey is different than pro, where it's a program and you're concerned about their grades, you're concerned about the holistic approach of what encompasses the student athlete day by day. So to have some tough situations that you had to navigate through as an assistant coach bode well than trying to make the best decision as a head coach in the betterment of that student athlete. So just gaining experience, and don't force it, but to enjoy, the chase of each season. And as I indicated, for players to be 2 feet in, that the coaches should remain 2 feet in and do the best to develop their current players.
Of course, do you have any advice for those future head coaches looking to get started?
Just keep, resourcing, through your contacts, and keep learning. And, it may be cliche, just be a great person. If you have, that's going to carry along the way greater than being a professional X and O coach. Be a great person, want to do the best for the student athlete, be very humble, and I believe you can go far.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find Princeton men's ice hockey program at, along with you on social media?
Go PrincetonTigers.com is our main one through the school. And I don't have Instagram or that stuff. I have a Twitter, but I'm not even sure what that is. So
Thank you again.
There's a lot more interesting people out there to follow than me. Trust me.
Thank you again, Coach Ron Fogarty, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the men's ice hockey program at Princeton.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon. And you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Ron, for your interview, and best of luck.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.